Hi, I'm Eric Kelly from KellyPlanet.com. This is a close look at Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 5, Schisms.
The Enterprise has entered the Amagosa Diaspora, an unusually dense globular cluster. We are faced with the daunting task of charting this vast region.
Starting off with Riker in bed, and he's having trouble sleeping. So he splashes some water on his face, and this is quick, but it's 10:37 in the morning, so he's probably late for something. Yep, he was supposed to be in engineering, but he's second in command, so he's not in trouble. By the math Geordi gives us, it will take a month to map the cluster thing. To speed that up, they're going to channel warp power to the main deflector, and Data says that will increase the sensor efficiency by 25%. How does that work? I don't know. But it brings the time down to 3 weeks. And, oh yeah, Data has a poetry reading later, and here's Ode to Spot.
Felis catus, is your taxonomic nomenclature an endothermic quadruped, carnivorous by nature? Commander, you have anticipated my denouement.
Yeah, he's not done yet, and I've cut this down quite a bit, but it rhymes with correct meter and everything.
And though you are not sentient, Spot, and do not comprehend, I nonetheless consider you a true and valued friend.
This cat poem will come up again in 3 episodes, also written by Brandon Braga. Riker goes to Bev about his sleeping problem, which has been going on for a few days, and she says there's nothing wrong with him. He needs to drink a hot milk toddy before bed, a recipe from the captain's Aunt Adele, whom we've heard about several times. Geordi turns on the warp power thing, and Data says the sensors have increased by 26%, and I still don't know why that works. And Data wants to talk about poetry. Was it interesting? Geordi says, well, it was very well constructed, but did evoke an emotional response.
Well, your poems were clever, Data, but did it evoke an emotional response? To be honest, no, I don't think so.
Data figures he has failed at poetry, but Geordi tells him just to concentrate on what you want to say, not how you're saying it. Uh-oh, the EPS conduit exploded in Cargo Bay 4, and darn warp power to the deflector thing. So like everybody goes to Cargo Bay 4, but things look normal. Geordi figures his mods created a sensor glitch, and Riker says, okay, fine, run diagnostics. I'll see you tomorrow. And do me a favor, come wake me up at 0700. No problem, Commander. Good night.
Come in.
Good morning.
Morning, I just went to bed.
Commander, it's 0700 hours.
I think we've all been there at some point. There's the bald Bolian barber Mr. Mott, and this is the last time we see him. Worf's there for a trim, but not like last time, just a little off the top. Mott is yapping about hair, and Worf does not have a good reaction to those scissors, so he scares poor Mr. Mott, and he leaves. Riker says it might be a good idea to turn off the sensor mods until they can figure out what the problem is, and yeah, that's a good idea. Uh-oh, this is the second time today that Geordi's visor just shuts off. That's weird. So he goes to sickbay too.
There's a slight bacterial infection around your neural inputs. I'm going to have to sterilize the area. But I need to run a resonance tissue scan to search for any signs of additional infection.
I guess he's okay because he's back with Data in the cargo bay. But wait, Data says he's only been gone just over a minute, and Geordi says, yeah, no, I've been with Bev for over an hour. So Data checks the time with Majel Barrett's voice, and it turns out Geordi is right. He's been gone for 90 minutes.
You know, first we picked up a false EPS explosion, then my visor cuts out twice, and now you lose an hour all in this cargo bay. The Fortune Engineering, I want a diagnostic team to Cargo Bay 4 immediately.
On our way, sir.
Maybe Cargo Bay 4 is haunted. Oh, this is the last time we see Ensign Rager there at the helm. They need to turn around for stellar cartography, but she can't, so Riker takes the wheel. And this is the only time this happens, besides when he has his joystick in Insurrection. And the console freaks him out, kind of like what happened to Worf. So they don't come about after all, but that doesn't matter anyway. Data says the sensors are working just fine, though they are detecting a subspace particle emission from inside the cargo bay, and Geordi says that's impossible. Well, there it is. How did no one see that?
The structure of the bulkhead has been altered on a subatomic level. The metal itself is in a state of quasi-molecular flux. What's causing it?
Well, this is where it gets a little wild, Captain.
Geordi explains that behind the panel is the junction he was using to send warp power to the deflector, and then Data says there are tetryon particles present, which shouldn't exist in normal space, but there they are. Riker tells Troy about how he freaked out at the helm, and he's the third person to come to her with something like this. So they have a meeting, and Riker describes his experience.
It was vague, the way you recall a dream. I remember the sensation of feeling trapped, and something about a smooth surface.
I had a similar response.
Worf says, yeah, I know what you mean. I freaked out over a pair of scissors. And Geordi's like, yeah, me too. When my visor cut out, I had a reaction to a smooth surface. Smooth and cold. That lady also agrees, and her name is Kaminar, but I only know this because I looked it up. Worf says, yeah, cold and elevated, like a table. They all remember the same thing, but that's it, so off to the holodeck.
Computer, show me a rectangular conference table.
It's too high. Computer, reduce the height of the table by 25%.
So they keep going with this. Worf changes the table, and then Riker changes it to metal, and it was dark in there. Geordi adds a bright light. Riker adds a restraint. Kaminar lady adds an armature, and then Worf adds a scary-looking pair of scissors, and that about does it. Except they can all hear creepy clicking sounds.
More of them.
I've been in this room before.
We've all been here before.
The doc says it's not just Geordi. Now all of the scary room people have elevated levels of serotonin, as if they've been sedated. And, oh yeah, tetrion particles in their bodies too. Data shows up, and he has determined that he was not aboard the ship for 90 minutes, and how he knows this is because there's a gap in the EM signature he gets in his system from the warp core.
Computer, are there any members of the crew of the Enterprise missing?
There are 2 crew members unaccounted for.
Identify them.
Lieutenant Edward Hagler and Ensign Serial Rager.
So I guess they joined the scary room club. But Major Barrett's voice has no idea how they left the ship, so let's raise the shield and increase security. Data and LaForge find the source of the tetrion things. Yes, sir. Uh-oh, the doc says it looks like Riker's arm has been severed and then reattached, and he doesn't remember that, but there it is. Someone has been experimenting on him. Uh-oh, again, now there's a portal or something in the haunted cargo bay, and it's caused by the tetrions. Data says it's a rupture in space, hence the title of this episode.
The signals from the modifications I made to the sensor array, maybe they caught somebody's attention.
At the rate the rupture is expanding, we will soon be in danger of hull breach.
Maybe we should try surrounding with the subspace containment field.
Worf says one of those missing people are back and they're in their quarters. So Bev goes there, and he does not look so well. The doc says his blood is turning into a liquid polymer. That's not good. Geordi says he has that subspace schism contained, but it keeps expanding and will breach the hull in just a few hours. They can't just beam it off the ship because there's, of course, transporter interference.
Has your analysis suggested any way in which we might seal this rupture?
We think we can close the rupture by neutralizing the tetrion emissions with a coherent graviton pulse. But we'd have to do that at the source.
The problem is that they need to find the source, which is in another subspace domain, and there are an infinite number of those. Worf wants to create a homing device, which is a great idea, and Riker says, yeah, give it to me. The next time I get abducted, we can tell where I end up. There is no guarantee that Riker will be returned, as Ensign Rager is still missing, and if the ship is in danger, they're going to have to seal the rift with the graviton thing. Picard tells Bev to cook up some space meth to counteract the sedative and keep Riker awake. Could be risky, but he's down with it. Make it so.
This should ward off their neurosedative for about 12 hours.
I hope it's enough.
It's gonna have to be. I can't risk giving you a higher dosage.
Geordi gives him a tricorder that will automatically record everything, whether he's awake or not, and I guess the homing device is in there too. So Riker goes to bed in his uniform, and off he goes. This is the real scary room, and it looks like Rager is getting Borgified by some space druids. I guess they can't tell that Riker isn't actually unconscious. Geordi can't track the homing signal yet, and Data says they have 14 minutes until they have to use the graviton thing and trap Riker and Rager in subspace. The space druids are working on Riker, and his tricorder is on that table, but it still works.
Captain, I've located the homing signal. Locking onto it now.
The containment field is beginning to fluctuate. Failure anticipated in 3 minutes, 11 seconds.
Begin the graviton pulse.
Yeah, they open up a schism, and the space druids don't like that. Somehow they are counteracting the gravitons, and Data says the rift is expanding again. There's kind of a tug-of-war between Geordi's graviton beam and the tetrions. Riker starts shooting. Where did he hide that phaser? I don't want to know. So he grabs Rager and jumps through the schism, and they're back. The portal rift thing flies itself out of the ship, and how does that work? You got me, it's not alive.
The tetrion emissions in Cargo Bay 4 have ceased, and there have been no further indications of alien intrusions. All Enterprise crew members are safe and accounted for. But we are still left with some unanswered questions.
There are some unanswered questions that really don't matter. Apparently the space druids can't survive in our universe. They created a pocket in the scary room to keep our guys alive, and we're trying to create a pocket of their universe in Cargo Bay 4. Geordi should probably tell everyone in Starfleet not to use the warp-powered deflector to modify the sensors anymore. And they don't know what that thing is we saw fly out of the ship, but apparently it came through the rift at the last second.
Ensign Rager and I were lucky to have escaped. Lieutenant Hagler's dead. Whoever it was sent that thing was more than simply curious.
Apparently no one was happy with the look of the space druids, and I have to agree. They weren't as threatening as I think was intended. Those clicks we heard were kind of a big deal. Somebody sat down and assigned clicking noises to correspond with the English language and then recorded it. Certainly not necessary, but hey, they spend money where they want. It is noted that the Amargosa diaspora cluster was named after the writer's mom's pet bird. Amargosa is a desert in Nevada, but diaspora is a word, and it means people displaced from their home. Refugees would be diaspora, or Guinan's people. The Elarians were displaced by the Borg. It's a weird name for a bird. Braga was upset that the trailer gave away the good parts of his script. I happen to have the trailer, so let's take a look.
Without warning and no explanation, an experiment in terror has begun.
I've been in this room before.
I need to know if anyone comes on or off this ship.
It looks as though your arm has been severed and then reattached.
And will they be sacrificed as human guinea pigs?
Commander Riker has been taken from the Enterprise.
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I have to agree with Braga. If you notice, the trailer just skips to Act 4 and goes from there. I don't know whose idea that was. This one was kind of weird, but I think it was fine, even if the director didn't, but that's, kind of on him. I'm going to do a middle 3 deltas out of 5. You can let me know how you feel about that. If you like that video, thank you. Like and subscribe. Make a comment if you want to. There's more Star Trek videos and related content on my website. Check it out at kellyplanet.com. I'm Eric Kelly. Live long and prosper.